everyone, and welcome to episode 28 of the Get Hitched live wedding chat show. As usual, I am your host. My name is Alberta. Today, we're going to have an interesting episode. We invited Matt Green, who's also known as Matt Hush, from Hush Studios. He is the founder as well as the primary photographer, does weddings in Malta, Gozo. I think he's done weddings even outside of Malta. So this is going to be interesting. We'll get a bit of an understanding, of different traditions, what people are doing right now. I know he's done a few weddings even during the current situation. As always, I do want to say thank you to everyone that is watching the show. Please, if you have any questions, comments, feedback, if you've worked with Matt, please put them in while we are live and we'll be able to even have a conversation with you, say a big hello and everything. In the meantime, I am going to invite Matt in for us so we can give him a big hello. Hi,
Hi,
Matt.
Alberta. Hi,
Hi. Good afternoon. How are you?
I'm really well. How are you doing?
I'm great. I'm fantastic. Thank
That's
you.
good to hear.
How's your week been so far?
So far so good.
Yeah,
Busy photographing as always, so yeah, can't
definitely.
complain. Not one bit.
Definitely, definitely. So I do want to kickstart straight off. I know I have quite a set of interesting questions for you today, but
Okay.
perhaps to introduce yourself for the audience, tell them a bit who Matt is, how you started in photography, just give us a bit of a background about yourself.
Hmm. Where to begin? Well, I'm from London originally,
Okay,
and I came to Malta for the first time about 20 years ago. I wasn't so happy about it actually, but then when
really?
I arrived, no, I was kind of sent here by my work, which was a very different career
Okay,
at the time, and but very, very quickly I fell in love with the place, and it's been a love affair ever since. And so I moved here permanently about 12 years ago.
okay. And you
Um,
didn't primarily move here for photography, so?
no, no. No, I moved. I guess sort of being from London, I was looking for a completely different lifestyle, I suppose, in a
Okay.
way. Um, I mean, you can't beat great weather, outdoor living. It's very safe compared to the UK or the part of the UK that I'm from. Um, and a different pace of life. I like the fact that actually
Definitely.
one of the strange things is that you lose very little time in Malta and Gozo. Everything's so close, and it sounds like a really strange thing if you live here and you're from here. But when you can spend hours and hours each day traveling from meeting to meeting or job to job or
If
stuck
you're
in
not
traffic,
stuck in traffic in Malta. But I know in London the traffic is much worse, so we really can't complain here, to be fair.
it is. I think Malta's probably catching up with London in a strange way. But I'm lucky because I live in Gozo. Chose that made a wise choice, I think, and moved straight to Gozo, and we set up the studio here, and the rest is history, really. So that's
Amazing.
yeah. So I'm not from here, but I feel very much part of the fabric of the community here in Gozo
Super.
after all these years, and I've been very, very fortunate um, to make some very, very good friends, really dear friends over the years from before I lived here, and obviously since as well that have just made that transition very, very easy for me. So,
Cool.
but
Cool.
yeah,
Cool.
lucky to have met some great people, bit of hard
In
work, and
fact, we do have a comment here as well from Ben Vincenti who says, Hi, Matt.
hi Ben.
So what really influenced you to go into photography?
Um, well, I don't know. It's the honest answer, which I know is probably a bit strange for people to say that. I suppose so. I love all things visual, I suppose. So and uh, and I suppose photography felt like probably an easy medium to pick up.
Okay.
So no good with a paintbrush or a pencil. Not the best graphic designer. I love music and I play music, but I'm not so good at writing it. But the camera seems something that I could kind of get my head around and kind of uh, figure out that was a good way to kind of express myself. And
Cool.
you got to remember, I mean, I'm not that old, but pretty old. I began at a time when, there was no camera phones, there was no digital photography. It was a pretty expensive business to sort of get into, and And so I kind of begged, borrowed, and stole, whatever I could, whatever equipment I kept my hands on to try. I never formally trained. Um, and that was
You've
that was
adapted
the
amazingly well to it. I mean, looking at your photography, just in case anyone hasn't seen Matt's photography, it's quite unique. And
well,
you should, I mean, I think you should have been doing this for years.
12 years. That's quite a long time. That's like almost, well, not quite a quarter of my lifetime, but almost. So it's yeah. So that's probably what it was about. I mean, I was into, if I think back, like over the years, I studied an arts-based media course at university. I did my bachelor's in that, and then went off and pursued a completely different career. Um, and but it was always something that was very, very constant, in anything I did. So in my other work, in my other career, my life before, back in London and the southeast of the UK, there was a camera always present. You know what I mean? So, and I put stuff together. People seem to like it, which is always good. If someone likes what you do, kind of
Yeah,
motivates you a bit. And so I did a couple of exhibitions and things like this. Um, I was back then. I DJ for 14 years in bars and clubs all around London and the southeast, and I had a camera with me all the time. That was kind of unusual. Like I said, this is a time when people didn't really have camera phones and things like that. And as they
yeah,
did come onto the market, they were just so whack. Like it was like pointless taking a picture with them. So like I've got this kind of treasure trove of kind of historic, cultural kind of photos of just me and the people around me doing our thing, whatever that was. And I love the fact that I've got that, and I got involved in photography at a time like that. And it kind of it builds in some instincts, something that can't be taught, something that you've just kind of got to feel, but like an instinctive reaction to what you're seeing and what you're observing. And I think that gives you people that are endeared to that, it gives them a kind of a unique and creative perspective, a different view of the world, and being able to apply, sorry, flights.
it's fine.
um,
I have them here as well for some
yeah,
reason.
people that have that that's kind of built-in mechanism to view the world in that way. I think if they can cope with the pressures and challenges of wedding photography, which sounds kind of funny when there's like all these other important jobs to do in the world, but yeah, it's quite a pressured
Uh,
environment, and
yeah,
it's you know what I mean. But it's like if you can deal with that and you can apply that kind of creativity and spontaneity and kind of instinctive observation to your work, then I think you're onto a winner. It's then just kind of partnering with couples and families that also love that style of work as well, because it's
making sure even you get on well, the style is exactly what they're looking for. I do
correct.
feel that it might be a bit stressful, especially when you want to capture every right shot. If there's perhaps the dad hugging the bride now, or those moments that you really are like, "Ah, yes, I have to get it.
Yeah, sure. I mean, it's like anything, any kind of job. I don't want to kind of undermine what I do and what my colleagues do with photography. And I have lots of colleagues out there that don't like how I speak about photography. But it's like anything. It's like the 10,000 hour rule. You do something enough, and you love what you do, and you're passionate about it. You're eventually you're going to get good at it,
Yeah,
and then it's about you just that constant drive to do better.
yeah,
You're never going to reach kind of perfection in anything, but like just the drive to always do better, and what have you. And I think that one of the very special things that have been forwarded to me in my life in moving to Malta is that um, although I've been here so long now, I have a family here and very, very settled, and the studio's grown in ways that I couldn't even imagine even 10 years ago. I'm still a kind of a visitor, in the sense that I view things with very, very fresh eyes all the time. So I kind of never get bored of here. It feels like I'm on this kind of endless summer, extended ho extended holiday, and
it is great. Eh?
well, it is, and like if you put yourself in the shoes of, you're off somewhere for the weekend to go and visit, I don't know, Paris, Seville, Barcelona, Rome, wherever it is you want to go, and your like eyes are wide open, and you're looking all around, up and down, and you kind of there's this sort of buzz and excitement about what you're doing, and you see, someone from one of those places is like, this is just like, this is our
No,
environment. But for me, I get that feeling. So being able to, hold on to that after all these years is, I think is well, for me, it's an absolute pleasure, but I think it's and a reward. And I think it's probably an advantage to our clients as well, because it's like the smallest things. I'm just like, wow, this is incredible. This is amazing. It's like
yeah.
when I meet with, like outside of weddings, for example, families that are visiting here from abroad, from the States, from Australia, or whatever, and they haven't got that kind of the history that we have in Malta. And we're walking around, say, like Mdina or the narrow streets around this area, St. George in Victoria and Gozo. They're just eyes just like popping out. And oh my God, it's like they're on a Hollywood movie set. Look,
Yeah.
literally, So, and I think that's how I sort of see and feel and view things all the time. So it
That's
just
great.
never gets boring. And then obviously a bit of travel as well to go abroad for work and shoot weddings in other places, that I may not have got to have visited, or I visited as a kind of a tourist in a different way. And then to go and do that, it's just this constant, I guess, search for inspiration, which takes you from one wedding to the next, to the next, to the next, and I think that's probably where the energy comes from more than anything.
Cool. Cool. So now you're considering you are based in Gozo, right?
Yes, yeah,
So
yeah.
you're now
Everyone, everyone,
considered a
everyone always seems.
Gozitan.
I don't know. You have to ask the Gossetons about that.
And how is it? Why? How did you come to choosing Gozo over Malta?
Okay, I think because it is just so different to the UK,
Okay,
there you have to. I arrived in, what was it, 2000, 2001, something like that, in Malta. I was here for 8 weeks, doing this a great job all the same, but not photography. And I was living just off the Strand in Slima, Mamma the Mek Street.
quite a
For me.
busy area.
Yeah, it was busy and it was cool and I loved it, and it was just something different, so different. And yeah, I remember it really vividly. And then a few days or maybe a week or so passed, and I went up to Gozo, you know, making sure I had my passport with me, because I thought I was traveling to yet another country, not realizing there's
It's just a ferry.
like this. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And went up to Gozo and was just absolutely sucked in by the charm
Yeah.
of probably the people, I think, above all else. And it was a kind of end of summer period, and in Marsalford, and it was just so quiet and peaceful, and there's just a
There's
lovely
quite
openness. And
a beauty in Gozo, and I do think a lot of English, well, even Maltese, I mean, we absolutely love it going up. There's a tendency we always go up for the weekends or those
yeah, sure.
feasts, get that long, nice, relaxing break for a Maltese person. It's yes, okay, we're going to Gozo, and even a lot of English. I mean, they absolutely love it, and I actually know other people from the UK that have come to Malta and specifically just gone off to Gozo and
Yeah, sure.
started living there
Sure, sure,
permanently.
sure, sure. And that's it. And it's a great place. I find it very quiet and peaceful. My work obviously is extremely sociable, which I love. Um, Constantly meeting people. I mean, one year we did a kind of calculation of how many thousands or tens of thousands of people that I would have met and the studio would have met in any given year. It's just amazing. So then to
So
have, sorry.
no. So would you say majority of your weddings are Gozitan or Maltese still?
No, it's about, if I look at weddings that take place in our country here in Malta, it's about half and half. Half the people are from Gozo, half the people from Malta. When I
Okay.
look at what I would consider local weddings, and then overall, our business with weddings is probably split where it's something like, I don't know, 20% is me traveling out of the country to go somewhere. And in fact, this year, that was the grand plan, was to kind of grow and increase that, but the coronavirus kind of put a
Yes, we
stop
got a bit
to that.
delayed.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And then maybe there's another kind of 30-ish% is incoming weddings, that are so people from all over the world that are visiting Malta specifically to get married or to have an elopement. And the other 50% is what I would consider local weddings, which are generally, most of those are probably what most people would picture as a traditional view. Um, of a wedding, Roman Catholic church,
Yeah.
leaving mum and dad's house, before the wedding, and going on to a kind of a purpose-built wedding venue or hall or something like that. So that's the mix,
All right.
in our
Okay.
work.
And I,
Yeah.
I do, to my understanding, you're mainly focused in the wedding scene, right? Even though you still do other shoots.
No, I think that's no, not at, in fact, no, not at all. Like,
Okay.
absolutely not. Weddings is a really, really important part of the business, and it's a part of the business that I hold dear to my heart, and I really, really enjoy it. But I and my colleagues at the studio shoot all sorts of different things. I think
Okay.
people, uh, I don't know how people view it. They probably see us as sort of like, the kind of social photographers, kids and families and things like that. But we're quite big into the event scene, so we represent a number of different brands at sort of big parties and events and things that happen all the time. Big names that you would see on Facebook advertising, um, live music, DJs, that sort of thing. And I have
Cool.
I have a
Okay.
I have a great team of photographers that go out and shoot a lot of that stuff. I do some of it myself, but over the last few years, just with travel and things, that's kind of reduced a lot. So that's really good. And obviously, the sort of business to business work where we might be doing commercial treatments and coming up with advertising concepts
Okay. Cool.
through photography, which is good. I work like locally. I work with some really, really, really good brands here in that are in Gozo that not going to plug them, but like that I'm really, really enjoying.
Yeah.
And that's great because it's become I think I've seen one of the things that's changed over the years is that there's much more a deeper appreciation of how impacting on sort of sales and marketing good visual content can be. So
Yes.
although we're not at the kind of level of Northern Europe and working in those parts, there's a bit of a change and there's a bit of a shift, and that's really, really nice. So step into all things. I mean, anything that we feel that we can deliver a really first class job on. And
Super.
if it's something we can't do that with, then we gladly pass it on to other colleagues that we know in the business that are really at the top of their game with it.
Understandable, yeah.
Yeah,
And it
yeah.
goes back to what you said before as well, ongoing learning. I mean, going into and always tapping and working on different projects
Mm.
allows you really to grow, even change the scene, what you're working on. So you always keep that freshness of each different
Abs-
project that
abs-
you're working on.
Absolutely, and it's a great bedrock for working in weddings. So I've got experience, good experience, not just I did one shoot or two shoots or something like this. Like strong experience in I don't know, fashion, product, events, conferences, commercial communications, headshots. Uh, all of that stuff comes together on a wedding day. Um, so you kind of draw on all of those experience to kind of build that collection of images, that library of images for the couple, for the clients,
Yeah,
Um, so it's really good. So and the wedding day itself is kind of mapped out a bit like that. It's sort of like, there's this whole kind of behind the scenes things going on as people are getting ready, and that's really lovely for me. It's the approach I have is very much sort of a fly on the wall documentary sort of style where, in fact, that's true of most of the day actually, where I'm not kind of, my goal is not to interrupt the action or get in the way of what is happening. So just want things to kind of fall out naturally.
yeah,
So you've got people getting ready, and that's a very, very, very natural part of the day. And then you sort of arrive in the church or the ceremony, and that's, people are just people. The bride and groom are kind of on autopilot then at those stage. So
yeah.
it doesn't matter what we do. So we're just looking for those great moments, and they can be few and far between sometimes, but there's always a great moment.
Cool, cool.
And then
I am going to quickly put up for you because you do have a comment
sure.
here from Michelle Belmont who said, "We are proud of you, Daddy. Love Gwen and a heart." So, hi,
Okay.
Michelle. Thank you for
And
watching the show. I don't know you.
That's it, and that's got Gwen, my daughter, watching. It's really good. She's probably they're the only two or three people watching us right
No, no,
now.
there's more. There's more. I won't tell you how
So
many.
I feel good, but regardless, I'm enjoying the conversation. I've heard
Yes.
it.
Um, but even like you were explaining a bit to me, like the style that you have with photography, where you're natural, you really don't want to be in the middle, like not that photographer that says, listen, pose, turn your face, but the top type of photographer.
That's it.
Is there a particular or setting criteria that you look for in a client or in a couple?
Um, Well, I mean, clients find us in the wedding world. They see
Yeah,
our website. They take personal recommendations. They might see our website or Facebook or other social media. So really, clients are finding us. We don't do any. Maybe we should actually, but we don't really do any real targeted advertising. In fact, Get Hitched is our one and only kind of outlet for kind of promoting our work indirectly rather than people coming to us directly. And you do a great
okay.
job with that.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
It's the
You're
whole
welcome.
team. So thank you
Yeah,
guys. Well
sure,
done.
sure, sure, sure. So, so we don't really get to choose, but obviously you have that initial kind of correspondence, a phone call, an email, a message,
Yeah,
which is followed up either a lot of video calls, obviously this year, which is really cool. That always tells me something about someone. If
yeah.
they're happy to get on a video call,
Is it
be,
better?
is it better, did you say?
Yeah. Like
Yeah,
having a
well,
video call, or would you still prefer the face-to-face meetings?
no, I love video calls. I mean, it's at the end of the day, you can get a really um, a good feeling, I think, from someone either way. There's very, I mean, personal contact is always king. There's no argument. But that initial communication from once, someone's written, "Oh, we get married this day. Are you available? What are your packages? What's it going to cost me? Or, I love your work," or whatever it might be. And we would send back like a brochure that sets out kind of some typical kind of packages that we know over the years that work well for people. Um, it's at that stage when they're coming back to us saying, okay, all right, we like the look of the work. He's on the money. This have that conversation. I think that conversation, a video call, is just as good as a face to face, for sure. And that's something like pre-corona days, like we had kind of pushed that a bit with people. And you'd get like 50% of the people would be like really happy and will engage in that process, just a quick WhatsApp video call or Skype or whatever it was, and the other 50% would be quite reluctant. It's like, no, I want to see you. Can we come to your
Yeah.
studio? Can we meet for a coffee? And of course, I'm like, yeah, cool. Like, let's make that happen. We'll do that. But looking back, like reflecting on those things, what I found was the people that were like, yeah, let's do the video call. The vast majority, if not all of them, would book. Okay.
Okay.
And I would probably go as far as say the vast majority probably define the kind of clients that I want to work with because and I don't know what it is, but there's some sort of correlation for sure, for sure.
Yeah.
There's
It already says something when a person is ready to do a video call, sort of like, listen, I don't have time to waste. I really want to meet with you. Let's have a good
mm,
conversation. Let's just do a
yeah,
video call. And there's so
that's
much
it.
that you can build off it, at least for the initial contact instead of just over phone. At least that's the way I feel, even to have quick, short chats with other suppliers or anything that I'm working with. I
Yeah,
always love having that video call because
same.
it's more understanding, it's more calming, it's not a cold email, it's
Yeah,
it's a
same.
conversation, and we can still see each other's faces. There's body language, there's the emotions happening, everything.
That's it. That's it. That's it. Exactly, exactly. And it's quick, it's convenient, it can fit in quite easily around things. I mean, I do numerous video calls from the car, on the ferry, way, coming back from a job in Malta, that kind of thing. Um, so yeah, so that's my kind of view on those things.
Cool,
But so
cool,
I
cool.
would I would definitely encourage people, yeah, pick up on a video call with any supplier really and have that conversation.
Cool,
Mm.
great. I am going to move in a bit with the questions because I think we're already like 20-25 minutes in
Okay,
and we're on
okay,
question number two. But I do
sure.
want to go in now a bit on weddings. I know you've been like As you mentioned, in the last 12 years doing photography, and you've been in the wedding scene. So I don't know if you've seen any like local changes that have happened through the
Yeah.
years,
Um,
like
yeah,
evolvements.
in the local scene. Yeah, I mean, I can think like if I think about Gozo, for example, that I mean, I think there's quite significant changes there in the sense that there's been a big shift from seated kind of formal dinner type weddings to a more of a sort of a stand-in party feel
Okay,
to the
all
wedding.
right.
Um,
Something
I'd
that's
say
more popular in Malta then.
exactly, exactly, but it's still done in a very unique and different way to
Yeah.
Malta. Yes, yeah, yeah, yeah. I would say that would be one thing. Definitely. I see weddings finishing earlier than they ever used to. So I remember before I lived here, I mean I flew out here and shot some weddings in Malta, while I was still living in the UK. So Malta was like a destination for me to come
Yeah.
out and photograph. And I remember walking out of weddings in Goza at like 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, like, wrapping up.
Might
And
be the costs.
that's just it. Yeah, it could be, it could be that, but there's a kind of a shift and a change in that. I think
Yeah.
I love the openness people have now to thinking about the time of year for their wedding. So they feel much more spaced out across the year rather than this kind of it's June, July, and
June,
August.
July. Yes, it's true.
Yeah, and I love that because my favorite times of the year to shoot is that kind of those shoulder months, March, April, May into June, and then sort of late September into October. And obviously there's been this huge upsurge in kind of winter Christmas weddings as well
Yeah.
over the last few years. So that's right across the board.
Cool.
Other changes would be like numbers for sure. I mean, not notwithstanding COVID-19 and coronavirus. I mean, people being a little bit more kind of selective and thinking about what they value for their wedding day, what they want to get out of it, how they want to enjoy it, and so like the guest lists are sort of reducing.
Okay. Making it
And
more
that's
intimate, sort of like.
Yeah, I don't think we're quite at that stage in Malta where we could talk about intimate weddings but they're drastically small. Like if I think back, like just I don't know 5, 6 years ago, we're looking at numbers. What a small wedding would have been 300 people. It
400,
would be
400, yeah, because
for a
before, I
small.
guess the tradition was that you had to invite every person in your family, and you have the mother and the sisters and the
Yeah,
kids and the grandparents and the aunties and the uncles, and all of a sudden you find out that you have a family of like 100 people. You're like, whoa, where
yeah,
have
yeah,
these
yeah, yeah.
people been all my life?
Yeah. Well, exactly, I would see, you see that, you see the bride was like, who are you? Like seriously, like this, let's say it
Nice
as
to
it
meet you.
is. It's
Thank you for
just,
coming to my
it's
wedding.
kind of, for me, that's kind of crazy. But like, each their own. But so I'm seeing those numbers reduce.
Yeah,
For sure, the smaller the wedding or the more defined the guest list is, I think the more kind of
fun.
I'm not gonna say fun, but the more kind of connection is there,
Yeah,
like within it. It's because you've got
yeah,
people like you have to like I say to couples sometimes I go imagine like you've been there like you've been invited to like 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 weddings in a season, right, as a guest, right? It happens. I know people this happens to.
yeah. It
Can you
has
imagine?
happened to us
Can you
just
imagine?
last year. We had like 12 weddings in a year.
There you go. So there you go, right? Now you got that's your summer, okay, done. Basically, like every weekend.
Started from March till December.
Whatever. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But like, it's kind of I think that's quite challenging for guests. So it's a kind of a two-way thing. So you should really couples should really think about who you're inviting because as much as it's, you're making that decision, you're also putting on other people to make a commitment to come to your day. And like if they're like, your third cousin twice removed, blah de blah coming from, I don't know, Fiji or something for your wedding. That's a big ask. You may never have met them, or
Exactly.
you may not be close to them. You may never really speak to them again after the wedding day. So it's a tricky kind of, I don't, people talk
I
about, oh,
think it
it's
really comes from the family, though. That decision is when you
definitely,
sit down with even the parents and, like, okay, listen, who are we going to invite? Let's keep the list small. Like, yes, I do see, like, for example, when my brother had his wedding, yes, then they lowered down the list. I mean, for cousin, I've only seen him 2 times in the year, in my
yeah.
childhood. It's pointless inviting him to the wedding. I'd rather invite, what, this is his wedding, our neighbor that we spent all our childhood together, running down. So we're talking 20 years ago. It was completely different to today. Everyone's stuck in home. Before, we were all, like, I live in a village area, so we were all always,
Hmm.
4 or 5 houses, and we're always doing different things together, while the parents are just like, oh, great, they've got it handled. So those are the people you really want to invite, that were actually there in your childhood, and you're
Yeah,
hitting for them for the next memory. um I don't know even if you've seen any, like, changes happening, or, like, maybe things becoming more comfortable between couples with the whole COVID-19 situation, where we're doing more sit down weddings, everyone has to stay seated. How
hmm.
is the whole experience?
For the well, I've had a really varied experience of weddings during this year. Let's say so like after March, let's say. Um, I the first wedding that I shot was during what was perceived as the kind of the lockdown. It was all done within the kind of the regulations that were in place before there's any messages or anyone asking about it. But it was a church wedding, and it was celebrated by the bride and the groom, and between them six family members. There was and that was it. So I met them at the church.
So they couldn't
Um,
even have, like, a group of six on one
n-
side of the church and another group of six on the other side of the
no,
church.
no,
Wow.
no. So it was done like that, and for me, it was a great wedding. I will never forget. I thought it was absolutely amazing, beautiful, very genuine, very sincere, which is everything that I'm always wishing for our couples. That it is a very sort of authentic experience when they marry. And it was just that. They arrived together in their own car, totally, dressed up, wedding dress, suit, the whole works, but just them. The wedding took place in the church, huge church, um, and so lots of social distancing and what have you. And their wedding was actually celebrated effectively with a photo shoot. So after
Okay.
the so after they were married and they exited the church, we kind of came outside. There were some group shots with family dispersed, and they said goodbye. These few people that were there with them, and we just kind of head off and wherever we wanted to go, and we spent the next like 2 3
Oh,
hours
cool.
just shooting
Literally having
loads of
fun, some
loads
alcohol
of
on the side,
loads of stuff. There
flask.
was there was a cup of coffee somewhere along the way, and that was it. And then like, like we just I was like, listen, whatever you want to do, I can stay as short as long as you want. We can do whatever you want. And we kind of made it up as we went along, and it was really good. And there was, it was just at the sort of the tail end of lockdown. There was people out in their cars, and they saw it, and it was like it's something really, really kind of major for people to see and really uplifting. And I love the fact the couple like, and we basically carried on photographing until the sun went down. And they went off and they grabbed a burger from a kiosk somewhere and went home, and that was that was their wedding day.
Cool.
And I love it, and I would never ever forget them. It's just absolutely beautiful. Really, really good. That's like one example. I had a wedding booked where it was going to be one of these 2,000 people extravaganzas, right?
Okay.
And it was like, oh my gosh, how, what's going to happen there? Surely they're going to postpone this. We'll see this wedding happen in like 3 years, maybe if we're lucky, and all the rest of it. The guy rang me up. He was like, "No, we're getting married. That's what we want to
Yeah.
do." And they organized this very, very beautiful sit down meal for I I can't remember. It was probably about 15 people only. Um, and really went all out to make this experience what they wanted. A sit down dinner right in the heart of Valletta. Just absolutely beautiful
I
how they did it.
I don't know what your perception is on it, but I do think, and I having said this, this is my thinking, I haven't actually physically been to a seated wedding yet, during everything that has been happening. I actually have one this
Okay,
Saturday. So on Sunday, if you want, we can have another conversation about this.
yeah, sure.
Um, but I have a feeling that there's much more intimacy because you're seated. All attention is like there, full focus. You're not just drinking, going by the bar, talking to this person. There's 700 people around you, and it's like,
Mm.
where's the bride and groom? The bride and groom are there, positioned in a way that they're in the center of all the different tables, right? Or am I
Yeah,
wrong?
mm, I think it's quite varied. As I say, I've been to probably quite a few weddings when I actually think back over this year during Corona. And so there's one of the first ones where like the kind of the rules about face coverings or shields and things was introduced. The limitations on venues, the numbers of people at a table, introduction of security, private security at wedding venue, these things. So one of the very first ones that I did. And again, I was surprised this couple were going to go ahead with it. I was pretty sure they weren't going to, and they were like, "No, it's going to happen." It's around 300 people, I think. It was an indoor and outdoor venue. They were very lucky with the weather, and it was a great experience. And what made it though was the bride and groom themselves. Nothing planned. They came into the venue. They had a band. I can't remember who, but they were very good. I remember. But that's something important to say actually. Sit down wedding, have a band, guys,
Yeah,
because like the entertainment's really important.
cool.
Really important. It kind of helps things flow. And anyway, they came in. They went up to the band and they kind of made this announcement on the microphone. It was really from the heart, and it was a big kind of heartfelt thank you and gratitude for all these people making the effort despite the concerns and the fears to come into their wedding. Because I
Yeah.
remember at that time it was like you were reading in the newspaper like these poor couples that had planned a wedding for 400 guests and like only 50 turned up, or probably
Yeah,
exaggerating, but
it's
there was these horrible things right happening, which was
and
kind
it's
of
of course it's
understandable.
stressful. You're
Yeah,
putting
yeah,
a lot of money. I mean, we can say it as it is. Doing a 300, 400% seated wedding, you're talking a lot of money. So then imagining that you're going to have 50 people showing up, I mean,
yeah.
all
But
those empty tables.
sure. But anyway, this couple came in. They didn't have that situation. They had
Yeah,
everyone kind of turned up. There was all these kind of weird. It was all new for everyone. Temperatures being taken. You had to sign in, fill this register in. It was all a bit different. And they came in. They took the microphone in front of the band and they thanked everyone for coming. Um, they explained, this is how it's got to be. They did the rules kind of thing. I said, listen, you're at a table. We've thought really carefully and hard about who you're sat with, and we've sat you with people that we know that you really care and love. So you're going to have a really beautiful evening with them on us, and it just kind of set the tone. And you saw like the guys, Nanu and Uncle, like undoing the tie, and the jacket comes off.
it's like,
Everyone all of a sudden is like super relaxed, and and this couple as well. They introduced they did the shoe game, that game where they get asked questions by the best man, and they
yes,
but
okay.
and this kind of added to the entertainment. And I kind of want to say that they had a magician, but I don't think they did. But there was like it just felt like there was some level of entertainment, and
Yeah.
families, there was a lot of consideration about like the seating plan. So like family groups were together, so they were happy, they were out having a sit down meal together. um
Celebrating an intimate moment, just
yeah. And
stopping
then
thinking about all the chaos that's been happening around us as well.
absolutely, so that was a beautiful moment, and it ended really cool as well. So the bride and groom were sat with their best men and the bridal party and what have you at their table, and they just started dancing in their chairs, so they didn't get up, and everyone's dancing. And then one by one, this sort of like it was a bit contagious, it's like epidemic dancing in the venue, and so everyone was dancing at their tables, just like waving their hands, and it was really, 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 really
I'd
cool.
love to see a video of this wedding or, a few photos of this wedding. I think it's super fun.
Yeah, sure. No, it was a really lovely, memorable thing. So I've seen
Amazing.
that, and I've seen other weddings where I think it's sort of a bit, the national mood really dictates as well how things. I've seen weddings where people look really on edge, and it's like,
Yeah.
When can we get out of here? I don't want to be here any longer. And that's a kind of a bit of a shame. And I guess that part of that is probably about the demographic of people as well. So if it's like it's mainly family members and older family members that are attending the wedding, there's a sort of a bit of concern there. Um, I think
Yeah.
the layout of venues is really, really critical. Like
Yes.
it's got to feel, you've got to have that space, but at the same time, you can't be just disparate between each
I
other. And
really would recommend, I think, on layouts, like having a person helping the bride and groom out to actually understand, get that information, get the help to really put people seated well out. So you have family together, you have friends, perhaps the younger generation together. It's a lot of work to do, especially if you're doing it for 200 guests. We're not talking about 50 people, seated for a wedding, which I think is becoming more popular right now because it's just
yes,
easier.
yes, yes.
I have a lot of friends that have been looking to go ahead with the wedding because sort of like, what do you do? Do you just wait? What
Mm,
if everything changes in the next 2 years? You're
yeah,
gonna pause and not get married and not move
exactly.
in together. So like we just have to get on with it, So they've gone
That's it.
down to like 50, 80 people, and
I think, yeah,
it's
that
still
or
amazing.
even less. I mean, if it was my own wedding year, and I would be like, okay, so it's me and my partner and our kids and mom, dad, and it's it become whatever that immediate sphere of
Yeah,
importance is, it becomes that. So if it's 10 people for some, it's 10, 20, 30, 50, 80,
yeah.
but you keep it like that, and the party can come because you're not
Yeah.
going to
The
party.
party, the people are the party at the end of the day,
Yeah, do
regardless
it.
of what you're doing, if you stand up or sitting down.
Yeah, fifth wedding anniversary, throw a huge party. Book our studios, we come for the time.
Yes, yes, yes. Cool. So we have veered off a little. I love the conversation with you.
No worries.
And I'm sure that we're giving people really, because sometimes, with all the uncertainty that is happening at the moment with COVID, it is nice to hear from, for example, a supplier like you that you've attended and you've been in different weddings. It gives a bit of assurance, not just we don't know what's going to happen, but yes, it can still happen and it can still be great.
Absolutely,
I
absolutely.
I do want to veer into a bit like your experience. Like I know you've done lots of shots for locals and even foreigners, but I don't know, like with the foreigners, maybe if you've seen like any funny or interesting traditions that have like really caught your eye.
Sure. Let me see. I'm gonna scan read this question. Is that okay? Hang on a
It's
minute.
fine.
Okay, let me see. It's here for locals. Yeah. Okay. I mean, the thing is, like, yeah, when you get to photograph weddings all over, people coming in from all different kind of parts of the world, they have different cultural norms, and different expectations and style, everything. So you see all sorts of things. I've done. I don't know where to begin. I mean, memorable weddings, funny things. I don't know. Uh, yeah, like there's like odd traditions, things like I love the Russian tradition of pinning money on the bride and the groom. That's brilliant. I'm
Really?
like, yeah, I want to be Russian for a night and get married. That's
They
awesome.
literally pin money. Okay, cool. I didn't know
Yeah,
this.
that's kind of I maybe they do it in other cultures as well. It sounds like a kind of Greek thing, Jewish thing, I don't know. But like, yeah, definitely like I remember being at Russian weddings. That's brilliant. That's really good. And all the guys are all kind of like a lot of bravado trying to outdo each other. It's like I pinned 50 euros to I pinned 100 euros. And it goes on. I love that. There was another great I'm tempted to say it's Peruvian, but I might be wrong. So someone can correct me if it's so, but definitely South American. Where actually, I'm going to take that. I'm not definitely South American. I think South American. Maybe it's something else. Where the basically the groom's tie is cut with scissors. Have you come across this?
Ah, I think I've seen
And they
this.
auction off pieces of the tie to the highest bidder. So the bigger the
No.
piece, the more you pay. And it's kind of all about like the bridal dowry and gifting. That's
Okay.
really fun. We did a great wedding here in Gozo of a couple from, well, he was a German Maltese, funnily enough, but he'd never been over to Gozo or Malta, and his wife was Mexican, living in California. They
Cool.
did they
Okay.
did this great wedding, a private farmhouse in a villa, and the Mexicans have this quite scary and traumatic tradition, and it's not kind of gender bias, which is basically you'll be standing minding your own business, having a dance, taking a few photos like I was, and you basically kind of get like manhandled by the groomsmen, and they will force feed you tequila. Um, but once, yeah, yeah, a shot of well, not even it's like free flowing. It's like
Just open your
yeah,
mouth
yeah.
and get the bottle.
But they hold your head back, and then they once you take the drink, they close your mouth for you, and they kind of shake your head. That was
Oh,
brilliant.
that's heavy.
Yeah, to watch. All sorts of things. I love some of the East African weddings that visit here in Malta. Absolutely beautiful. I mean, the outfitting of the women in particular is stunning. I love the music and everything. I've got very, very, very fond memories of some Ghanaian weddings that I photographed here in Malta. That was great. I've done some uh, brilliant same-sex weddings. Where there's been like lots of role reversal. Like the one in particular jumps off the page for me is not the couple so much, but their best woman, and it was absolutely the best man speech or best woman speech that I've
Okay.
ever heard. I love speeches in weddings. I love people that are attentive to listen to those speeches because they're heartfelt.
Yeah. And that's
And
what you want to
that's
capture, I guess, with photography as well. That those moments where, people are attentive, they're listening, there's that.
Absolutely. It's that's actually that's it's not a weird or strange tradition, but being from the UK, I grew up with speeches in weddings, speeches at any opportunity, Christmas dinner, birthdays. I love that because it's like the voice of reason, good solid advice. I just love that. I love that. I love the humor, the personal anecdotes, and the reactions of people. So that's really lovely to
Cool.
watch and see. I just remembered another Russian tradition, which is about the bride gets kidnapped actually by the
What?
yeah. Someone go and Google that. Yeah, kidnapping the bride by the best
Kidnapping the
man.
bride? Okay, I don't think these are traditions that should be implemented by the
So
Maltese.
yeah, maybe kidnapping's a bit elaborate, but it's yeah, it's a kind of this weird kind of they kind of all get into sort of role and character, and the bride is hidden away, and the groom has to go off and search for her. Yeah, you see loads of stuff. Obviously, I
And these
love
are Russian weddings that they've come to Malta, or that you've gone there, or
the
both.
ones that I'm thinking of are weddings that have happened here.
Happened here.
Yeah, I'm trying to think, and Russia's yeah, Russia and Ukrainian, that
Cool.
sort of like
Yeah.
eastern part
And do you
or
have like a
eastern part.
favorite type of wedding to photograph?
Yeah, I'm so I'm all about just fitting around what is happening, okay? So, I'm not gonna obviously we plan, we schedule, we send these things in email to people to say, listen, we're gonna begin here, then we're gonna do this, and then we're gonna go there, and so on and so forth. But ultimately, it's like I'm gonna begin, I'm gonna turn up wherever I need to be, and that's the start, and I kind of know when I'm going to end, and I know what's going on in between, and I just want to kind of go with the flow. But the best weddings that I really love is where um, the couple take a very practical approach to planning their day. So
Okay.
for some people that would be really scary because it's like they're like, oh, we're doing away with this tradition or this thing that we're expected to do. And I'm talking about like where couples might choose to get ready within the same venue where they're going to get married. Generally kind of lends itself to civil weddings over church weddings, but where things are kind of close together because what you do, you end up with like there's the bridal party, so the groomsmen, the bridesmaids, the maid of honor, the parents, brothers and sisters, and close friends. You're all kind of together, and you have this journey from morning through to evening, and there's this sort of holiday atmosphere, this sort of vacation feeling about the wedding day, rather than like oh I've got to go to the hairdresser and then the makeup artist and then I've got to get back to my brother's house to pick up the rings and then back to my sister because she wants me to be there because I'm the witness to do a photo and then I've got to be at the church and I have to put out these prayers and things, and you know, it's like all this sort of manicness, and it's like if everyone's together in one place, like, this is really popular. Like abroad, for sure, this is really super popular. So like if I go up to the UK and do like a I don't know, like a stone cottage wedding or a barn wedding, you know, they stay in the residence of this place. They get married in the chapel on the grounds of this estate, and then you know, and then the dinner is there and the party continues, and everyone's kind of together. It's this beautiful,
Yes.
beautiful feeling. Likewise, not all of them, but a lot of couples that will be visiting from abroad, Ireland, UK, Germany, France, wherever it may be, that are coming here, they tend to do that as well. And it would be, you know, it's like a farmhouse or a villa or a hotel, and everyone
Yeah,
kind of gets
exactly.
around about there. The guests might travel together on the same coach or bus, and you know, you'll see these vintage buses running around in the summer, you know, full of wedding guests. And that's a really nice feeling as well.
It's
There's other,
true. It's true. We've actually done it
yeah,
again for my brother's wedding as well. They got
okay,
married in a hotel, so we just started booking rooms, and we ended up doing the whole weekend there. Like they we ended up. No, I
yeah,
don't think we
super.
gave them to have a
Ah, it's
honeymoon,
cool.
but we spent all weekend, by the pool, having lunch,
Yeah,
both
yeah, yeah.
families, and it was just really
It's
nice
great.
because the day after the wedding, you can actually laugh about everything that happened. You
It's lovely.
know.
It's a whole experience. It's like I said, the only way I can describe it is like a holiday with your best mates. It's like I love that. I love that, and it really shows during the wedding day. You know, it's just something different and very very special and memorable. There's
So
yeah, I
the
love that.
feeling I'm getting from you is you really like the intimate weddings, those where there's really strong emotions happening between the guests and the couple and the family.
Yeah, I mean, intimate, yes. That's one way to describe it. When we talk about intimate, we tend to kind of marry that up with the word small. It doesn't
No,
always.
for me, intimacy, sorry, when I say intimacy, there's a strong emotional connection.
For sure, for sure. I mean, I'm all about that social interaction, which is like that's you know, 2020 is killing me because it's like
Exactly. It's
but it's all
too
about that. But that social interaction, that human connection, you know, it can be at times it's not the big hugs and kisses. It can be so subtle, just like
having
with
like
I
a tear going down when you're hearing a particular speech. Like for
yeah.
me, if I ever get married, and if my partner is watching this, I'm just gonna say if I ever get married. But like we always are like for me, the smaller the wedding is, and the more like close people you have, and you're seeing your best friend, and they're about to do a speech, and the other best friend is crying. For me, that's amazing. There's for me, there's no need of the 700 people in the same space
Yeah,
because for me, it's a nightmare to have to shake all their hands. Like guys, you're here. Hi, enjoy the
yeah.
party.
It's yeah, sure. I mean, but it's not always about size because I think like intimacy can still be created with larger weddings.
Yeah.
Don't get
Okay.
me wrong. Like if for me, I think on a personal level, yes, it would be the smallest wedding we could do, as in the least number of people, like the most important people, whatever number that would be. When I photograph weddings, I love them in the same place, and it's a sort of a smaller group, like less than 100 is great because even as a photographer, you build a rapport. It's not just about the bride and groom, it's about the kind of, if you see the bride and groom as the kind of the leading role, it's all the supporting cast around them in this kind of wedding day
Yeah.
that's really important. And I can build a relationship with each of those people, each of those couples. I can take great shots of them, um, you know, and I love that. But if it's a bigger wedding, obviously, how are you going to get around and do that with people? It's just a snap, 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 and it's kind of done. But like you know, another wedding came up in my mind as we're talking through. I did a wedding. It was quite well uh, publicized, reported on, I suppose. So
Okay.
two guys, Maltese guys, got married, and with 21 bridesmaids and maidens of honor, and I don't know how many, 12 page
Oh yeah,
boys
I
or something.
think yes. Okay.
Yeah, and like I photographed that and pulled together the team to film and kind of the media team for it, and that had for the size of the wedding, which I think it was over 1,000 people. I can't remember.
Okay.
It's a few years back. There was such a level of intimacy in it, even though there was like this huge number
Yeah.
of people. It was just incredible, and it was really buoyant, full of energy and fun, and sincere at the same time. You know what
I
I
get
mean?
that.
It's
Yes, I do.
yeah.
I do. While
But
we're on the
again,
topic with the
sorry,
couples, no, it's fine.
please.
It's fine.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've had like any bridezillas. If I'm going to put it that way, I'm going to be very sensitive with this. But we know sometimes there might be the craziness might take over into people, especially like when they've been over planning things. And I've
Okay.
heard different stories, like brides wanting to by force do their first dance outside, but it's like freezing cold, middle of December, and the weather's not playing what they want, but they really want it. I don't know if you've ever encountered situations like that. You don't
Uh,
have to be specific. Don't worry. We don't want to like
okay. I don't know what you're
catch
talking
anyone's.
about. I think this is a complete myth. I mean,
Really?
bridezillas, yeah, they just don't exist. It's not true.
Okay.
Yeah, I get no. My thoughts on that is, everyone is different in any given situation, right? How you're going to respond to like the spotlight being on you, pressure, stress, all the
It's
rest of
quite
it.
stressful. I mean, we have to say it.
Yeah, I think media and social media and the industry itself builds things up in a way that it really doesn't need to.
Yeah.
So my constant message to my clients is, listen, I photograph in a very relaxed way, okay? My key objective on your wedding day is for you to have a great experience. So I'm not going to push, pull, tell you what to do. I'm just going to fit in around what you're doing, and we're going to see what comes out. That's it.
Yeah.
Another piece of advice that I give to all my couples, some listen, some don't, would be that the wedding day at the end of the day is like any other day. Things are going to go well, things may go bad. Things that you plan might not happen, and the things that you think weren't going to happen will happen. And you cannot account for anything. So there has to be a point, at least 72 hours before the wedding day, where you got to switch off and just let go of it all. Because otherwise, you're going to kind of be worrying about everything. It's
It's true.
so, it's like, I find it personally upsetting, and I've met brides, they're like, oh, I don't like my dress. I'm not happy with my hair. My makeup isn't what I expected. There's like, there's all this stuff, and it's like, well, I
That's
think it
what there
comes,
is.
you become sort of overthinking the
It's
situation.
true.
So less is always more. Keep it simple. Have people close to you in the lead up and on the day, especially, that are going to kind of build you up. Like, it's really funny because we're talking about bridezilla, right? So we're kind of, the conversation in our mind is about women. This happens for
It
guys as
can be
well.
with a man. Exactly. It can be with a guy as
Yeah,
well.
and so you need, we got to be not just on our wedding days, but we got to surround ourselves always with people that are going to build us up, push us up, get the very best out of us, and also stand up and say, listen, no, you're off key, you're wrong. It's not like that, and remind us of what is important, because then that keeps you focused on what it's all about at the end of the day. So that's what's got to
Agreed
happen.
completely. I agree
Definitely,
completely with you.
definitely.
Matt, we've hit over an hour, or we're about to hit over an hour on the show.
I'm
So
just
I'm going
warming
to
up.
I am going to go through the last questions because
Okay,
I don't want to keep you stuck here. I
sure.
know you have a busy day, people coming in and out. I know the studio was super super busy today as well.
It is, yes,
So
yes.
one of my questions for you was like if you've had like any scary moments, as a photographer, those nightmare things that you really are just, or if
Yes.
they've happened, and even how did you handle the situation if they've ever happened?
You're going to end on this question.
No, I'm going to ask you for advice after, and then I'm going to end on that question. Don't worry.
Good,
I
because
wouldn't
that's
end
like,
on scary.
yeah. There's a few, a couple of things probably spring to mind. One would be, just like quick story. Like, I shot a wedding in Luxembourg. It was the first time I visited the place, and at the time, it's probably the same again now. This was a couple of years ago. There was no direct flight, so it was a connecting flight. And because of the late departure from Malta to where I think into Frankfurt, I missed the connecting flight, and that was
Oh,
really
okay.
like in a brief. Well, I didn't miss, actually. I got on it, because it was also delayed. But in that sort of 30, 40 minutes of still being in the air, knowing that this other plane's supposed to be taking off, that's like really, really nerve-wracking. Okay, so I kind of dealt with that. Had to run through Frankfurt Airport, got on the plane, was really lucky, arrived in Luxembourg, and then none of my equipment arrived, and the wedding's the following morning. So it's like, you know, yeah, big problem. Um,
What did you
and
do?
I kept cool, kept calm. Spoke to those great people at the airport, that deal with these things, and they were like, listen, it's going to get sorted one way or another, this, that, and the other. I mean, all the equipment I would have had a camera and a couple of lenses with me, but everything else was in like hard case flight
Yeah.
cases to go, and that was it. And it did get fixed, but alongside that, I had no clothes to change into, so it's like that's kind of panic,
Yeah,
and
but
all the
that
rest
I
of it.
mean, you can just go down the shop, get it.
Yeah,
But the equipment is sort of like, you're not going to just go down the shop and buy
exactly.
another camera
Well, no,
or buy another lighting.
no, that's it. So it's like you start thinking, well, hang on, I could shoot this wedding with what I have, but how am I going to charge the batteries? And there's all these sort of things start coming
And
up.
you want to hit
So
a certain expectation as well for people. So you know that
sure,
your equipment,
no
and
joke,
that's a big part of it, having the
no
equipment to execute.
no joke. Someone's gone to the trouble to fly you out to Luxembourg for a few days
Yeah.
to shoot their kind of whimsical garden-esque woodland wedding, with all these like top doctors and scientists from all over Europe. Yes, that's scary stuff. I did go out and buy a new outfit, absolutely, and my things did arrive. But in the meantime, I
Super.
mean, you begin to put things in place like contingencies, and this is stuff like
Yeah.
you learn from all the time. So like I knew exactly where I could buy, rent, and borrow stuff immediately, so it would all
Cool.
be sorted.
Okay.
And you find people are extremely helpful, in that situation. But everything did arrive exactly as they said. It was like midnight it came, and it was like, okay, all right, this is good.
Amazing.
So
I
that was
think that
one.
is considered even as a piece of advice, for anything that a person is doing. You're planning a wedding, you're going to be a supplier in a wedding or whatever. Having a
Yeah,
contingency plan, I think, lowers down
sure.
your stress levels because you know exactly if plan A isn't working, you go to plan B, plan C, blah, blah, blah.
Oh, you have to think on your feet, and it's very similar to a wedding day in itself. You don't know what you're going to get. You don't know what's going to go on. I mean, I had a wedding once in Malta. This is, and um, the leave in the church. Sorry, in the church, the couple have forgotten their rings. That's happened to me twice in my career, where the rings were forgotten. So that was like the first big drama, and it was dealt with really, really well, and it was really fun, and it was very sweet how they managed it. Then when they left, though, what happened was their car, their Rolls Royce from whoever they rented it from, caught a flat, and
As well.
they didn't have their mobile phones with them
Are
because
these
they were passing
signs,
messages.
though?
Well, yeah,
Sorry.
yeah, yeah.
Sorry.
Listen, it gets more amazing what happens. Then they managed to get this Rolls Royce kind of gets fixed and the puncture repaired or whatever. And they had this elaborate entrance to a hotel in Valletta where there's a marina, and they were entering from a boat across from Taj Beach, and they were coming on a boat, and they were going to arrive on the boat. So despite being like delayed maybe like an hour or 90 minutes, they still pursued the idea of getting on the boat. This
It's
small
like,
this small
we
group.
had one issue, issue number
Issues,
two. No,
yeah, yeah,
don't worry,
yeah.
let's get on a boat.
So they get on the boat, and we're myself, and I think there was actually a second
Oh my
photographer
God,
with
you
me
have
there
me biting my nails.
for the video guy, and they're arriving on this boat. We're all poised, to film this entrance, cut the boat coming in, and what have you. And the guy, I don't know anything about the skipper, I guess you call it. Skipper's parking more in the boat, parking the berth in the boat, right? And he bumps into another boat that's kind of parked up in front of him, and the sudden kind of jolt sends the bride like this, not in the
In the
water.
boat or in the water?
In
Oh my
No, no,
God.
no, no, no.
I was
I, w-
expecting
I,
like the boat
I wish I could
sinking halfway
elaborate
or
on.
something.
No,
I
no,
was
no, no.
truly expecting that.
in the boat, but
Okay.
we're all there like with cameras and video and what have you. So she took it all in good humor.
Uh,
Gets off the boat, and it's a beautiful scene. There was like there's fireworks going off in the
yeah.
back of
I just have to say, if this lady ever watches this episode, I'm really sorry this happened to you. And I'm really happy that you actually took it sort of like with a pinch of salt, and like, anyways, like,
yeah,
continues going up. But that's,
exactly. Was yes, yeah, yeah. I could go on about that, but that was it. And I guess another, if we have time, I mean, a big scare, the worst scare that ever happened to me is my very reliable and newish car, so not like an old car, just decided to, the engine kind of ceased mid-flow on Boomerad Road, going out to some remote chapel somewhere I can't remember the name of. And having left the bride's house maybe like 15, 20 minutes in advance of her to arrive at the church before her, and my car just stopped and you know just wouldn't move and do anything. I'm in mortar. It's like, oh my God, I don't know how I'm going to do this. And you basically it's what do they say? Flight or fight, right?
yeah,
So
exactly.
I fought. So I was just like, right, stepped right out into Boomerad Road. Any car, any truck, any waving.
Really? You're like,
Oh, for sure. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
very
And and
good.
and but the funniest part of it is the bride goes past in like a limousine or whatever,
Did
sees
she
me there
see you?
like waving. Oh yeah, she waved back. I guess she. I never asked her, but I guess
She
she thought
thought
I
you were
was there
having
like
a
taking pictures
break.
on, or taking pictures en route in the limousine or what have you.
Yeah,
But this great guy, I don't know his name. He's from Hamroon. I won't forget that. He told me all about the feast in Hamroon, which was great on the way. Coming from, working in the fields, what have you, on his way home from work, Saturday lunchtime. And he picked me up. He took me all the way out to this chapel, and that was it. The rest was history.
amazing.
And then from there,
Amazing.
we just sort of organized taxis and cabs and take it from
Exactly.
there. So you've got to think on your feet and
We've got Bolt now, cool. There's so many different apps. You can literally be like pushing the car on the
yeah.
side or chucking it somewhere and be like, yes, I need a taxi. Okay, we chuck this here. You want it, have it. I don't
That's
care.
it. That's it. That's it.
Cool. I really love
Yeah.
this episode with you, Matt. We've had some really super fun stories.
Thank
I
you.
do want to end the episode with seeing if you have any advice, maybe for photographers, that are in the industry with you, brides that are planning their weddings, even in the current situation,
Hmm. Sure.
even if you know the whole booking process.
Yeah, I guess that's probably the most useful thing, isn't it? To think about sort of brides and grooms looking at what they do. I mean, it applies to probably all vendors, really, not just photography. But if I think about photography, I mean, do your research, do it really, really well. Do all the due diligence. I mean, I think people learned a lot in 2020 about doing that. I read and saw some horror stories about how some people were treated without contracts and deposits and all of this stuff. So make sure you kind of check stuff out, ask questions. Your photographer or your other vendor should be able to answer them without even thinking. They should be able to
Yeah.
come back to you. And if something they haven't thought of, then you're doing them a good service by raising it with them and you'll figure it out together. Um, check out, make sure whoever you're working with isn't a one-hit wonder. This is someone that does this stuff day in, day out, really knows what they're talking about, and knows that they're going to arrive at your wedding looking fresh with fresh eyes and wanting to contribute to your day in a really, really positive way, not just there to do a job, like, the last thing you want is some goofy guy, balding, slightly overweight English guy stood there looking miserable. You need someone that's going to bring a bit of life, to it,
Yeah.
or at least the appropriate kind of approach to the
Yes.
day. Is it quiet and reserved? Is it lively and entertaining? You've got to fit,
He needs to
photographers.
fit in well with the vibe of the people you're going to have as well.
Exactly. There's all of that. So that's I can't stress enough. Like having that instinctive good feeling about someone that you're going to work with is really important. At the end of the day, you're gonna have some email exchanges. You're going to do a video call. You're going to meet maybe once, twice before the wedding to do a pre-wedding shoot or something. But then that person, whoever it is going to be with you like 12, 14 hours. You don't want some, numpty kind of bringing your wedding day down. You want someone that's going to, lift you up
Yeah,
and make you feel good.
definitely.
So that's really, really important. Check out real life testimonials. I think that's really, really important. Written testimonials, speak to people. I mean, especially in our case, I think we're getting to a stage like I'm pretty sure like is that what is that 6 degrees of separation? I reckon if you ask someone, Alberta, anyone, you will know someone that I photographed their wedding somehow along the line. By now, we're too small in Malta, for that not to be the case. We
It's true.
just literally shot loads with passion, with dedication, with uniqueness every time. So, just ask around about whoever it is that you're choosing.
Yeah.
And obviously, yeah, contracts, check out the pricing, make sure it works for you, your budget, but check that against what you're actually getting given. What are the deliverables? Because, I might charge one thing, there's another guy down the road charging half that price, and we're giving you two different products.
Yes.
Or I'm charging one thing and giving you something. There's a guy who's charging 3 times as much and giving you something else. Work out what's right for you. That's the only way you'll understand value for money. Okay. And obviously
I'd
the
have to
work is,
completely agree with that. And even just
yeah, yeah,
not meeting with one single person, meet with three different people. So you get an understanding. You have video calls. When we had the virtual weddings fair, we had couples doing three, four, five, six meetings in an evening, all video calls, one after the other. You have both,
yeah,
they're
sure.
sitting down, suppliers coming in and out, and you get to understand what you're going to
Yeah,
be
yeah.
paying for and if you vibe well with the particular supplier. I think that's one of the most important things for me,
The
that there's a
vibe.
good connection. Yeah.
Totally, totally, and that's two ways as well. Like, if I'm not feeling a client like in a positive way, it's you got to find that. If you're in there and it's contracted, you got to find that. You got to find what it is that makes them tick. And that can be a challenge. But if it comes from the client in the first instance, they go, "Oh, okay, yeah, I really like this guy. I can see him hanging out with us on our wedding day, you know, in the
Definitely.
shadows,
Yes, definitely. But at least it's a person
So
that you can go up and say, hey, listen, something sudden came up. I want you to capture this moment. Someone that's
Mhm.
sinking well into even all the different steps that you want
Yeah,
done.
yeah, 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 yeah. You need someone that has a similar level of energy to yourself for your wedding day. That's what it is. Like I always tell people, like, I don't know what, I don't see wedding photographers. I don't know how they work. Like, because I'm always at a wedding photographing, so I don't see other people. So I don't know what they do. But I know what I do, and that is I come to your wedding and I don't stop. I'm observing, I'm looking, I'm watching, I'm photographing from the moment I start to the moment I end, and I'm
Yeah.
gonna I'm I'm gonna share with you the good, the bad, the ugly, a really generous collection of what we shot because there's real value in what we're producing you. These are memories that are gonna last, beyond our lifetimes, hopefully. That's like without being dramatic, that's what it's about. You're passing on stuff.
It's
It
true.
goes
And the only
it
memory
goes
that you're going to have after is the photography and the
yeah,
video.
yeah,
The
yeah, yeah,
photos and
yeah.
the videos are what going to stay with you.
For sure, for sure. And it goes beyond vanity. Do you know what I mean? It's like we can do all those great shots, but there's much more to it than that. There's a whole story to be told, you know?
Yes.
I want to
Agreed
see mum,
completely.
mum in her rollers and in a, dressing gown. I want to see that 20 years from now. And, I want to see brides like having so much fun and laughter that their
Yeah.
face is contorted, as well as seeing, them loving and hugging and all that good stuff. I want to see it all, and that's what I try to do. I tell the story rather than create a fairy tale. It's like
Yeah.
this is what it is, and if you love that, then we're right for you.
So I'm just going to make it really easy for everyone watching the show. Just contact Hush Studios, ask for Matt Hush, get a meeting with her, and get the ball on rolling. Because
Appreciate
that's amazing. You've explained yourself with such passion, doing what you do. You with every word that you say, there is passion coming out.
it.
It doesn't
Oh,
stop. And it's really nice to see, even considering the whole situation, it's been a bad year for everyone.
yeah,
Everyone's seen different situations happening, our loved ones, everything's been happening. You've been so positive, you still want to work, you still want to continue picture, and you're still picturing the happiness and all the love and all,
yeah, sure.
everything that there is, which is amazing. Um, Matt, I am going to put everything to a wrap. I don't know if there's any final words before we end the show.
No, just thank you very, very much for your time. I actually really enjoyed it. I was
Good. I'm
slightly
happy.
dreading the experience, but it's been very nice to. verbalize what I do. Don't do that very often, so thank you.
You're welcome. And
Really
thank you
appreciate
for
it.
accepting the invitation. I remember our first phone call, and I was really proud when you said yes. And I was like, yes.
Yeah, okay,
So, yes,
sure.
I'm very happy to have had this. It's been
Okay,
a very fun episode because it was a bit different. We had stories, and everything. I
sure.
do hope to meet you again sometime soon, maybe
Yes,
as a
that would be
guest
good.
in a wedding, and I can see you there.
Okay, that would be good.
I- yeah.
I'm very happy to come back and talk about anything else that you want to as
Definitely. We'll set up another one then for our audience.
well.
Cool,
Sure,
Matt.
sure.
Thank you very much. I'm going to wave you goodbye and I hope
Yes,
to see you soon.
thank you.
Bye bye.
Ciao, bye, bye, bye.
There you have it, guys. Episode 28 of the Get Hitched Live Wedding Chat Show with Matt Green, also known as Matt Hush from Hush Studios. Very fun episode, very interesting. If you guys want to contact them, there's their Get Hitched profile in the description. You can also find them on Facebook and they have their website. So contact them, get a meeting, start with a video call and go from there to get some understanding and start planning your wedding. The situation is what it is. But if you want to get married, you still want to do it. So it's pointless waiting or being uncertain. We just need to get the show on the road and start executing everything we really want to. Again, thank you for everyone watching the show. Thank you for your comments and all the love, and following that we've been getting. I hope to see you guys soon.